Thank you. I will now, I'd like to call the Conservation Commission meeting of September 8th to order. And I'd like to begin with a roll call. Marty McLaughlin. Present.
Present.
Susan Schweitzer.
Present.
Present. Pam Flynn listening in. Tiger Man in listening in, and Robin Bates Mason on by Zoom. Thank you very much. I will not approve the minutes of May, August meetings because the attendees from that meeting aren't here. Susan, if I'm correct, you can't vote on a meeting you didn't attend.
No, I would abstain. So no, you're right.
Okay, well, then pass that item and the meeting is called to order. Let's begin with Robin is here, so let's begin with just sustainable New Canaan certification progress.
We're working, actually, I'm kind of busy with other things, but one of the things we're working at is on the swap shop, which will go towards points. We need to finish up our equity actions. We'll be doing that with some of the high school kids have reached out, and I'd like to have them meet up with Tiger after the swap shop is open to take a video tour, make a video, sorry, of the transfer station, and we'll apply that to one of the equity actions. The second equity action we'll continue working on, which is regarding the food banks, meet with some more, and then we'll finish the third equity action needed with the swap shop, where we'll have to get together some community members and see how we can, how that can be how we can work with other groups with the swap shop. So it's a plus for the community and doesn't hurt anyone.
That sounds great. Robin, a simple question. Will anybody be able to visit the swap shop or only people with transfer station stickers?
You will have to have a transfer station sticker. Of course, there are two levels of a transfer station sticker. One is if you, if Tiger's here, he can correct me. I believe it's $45 for a sticker if you have private hauling. So people have that option, but yes, you do have to have a sticker.
Okay.
Like the food scraps, you need a sticker to use the food for the food scraps as well.
Right. Okay. Any other actions or support that the Conservation Commission can give to the Sustainable Committee?
Honestly, right now I'm doing everything with the swap shop. So once we have that, I'll be working more on it. But that's my main focus for the next 4 weeks.
Okay, and then just so I can inject these two thoughts. One is, it looks like we're going to be expanding investments in walkways and accessibility. I don't know whether that gives us any leg up in the certification. And then secondly, and we are going to undertake an additional tree planting program. Yeah,
it's on the points, we're okay. It's the equity actions. And those are, I just spoke with Tammy Thornton of Wilton Go Green, and she works on their application in Wilton. And you know, we were talking about it last weekend, and it's the equity actions. So we appear to be good on points. We just have to get those equity actions approved. And after we're done with them, and then we should be able to submit.
Excellent. Okay. Just skipping down, we're going to, since Linda's not here, we won't discuss river testing, native tree planting program. Just a big shout out to the town. I guess we're waiting for town council approval that we're going to, start building or putting into the green canopy, putting in more trees. So Tiger, thank you for moving that program forward. Food scraps recycling, I don't think we never did get a presentation from NC Forward, but we'd be happy to hear it if it ever was possible.
I can send it when I'm home, but NC Forward was started by Mariana Ferreira, who is a graduate student now in Spain. She's still checking in, and Izzy Kaufman, who is now a first-year student at Syracuse. They are checking in, but it just actually, the first pickup was today at Rosie's. They received a grant for just under $4,000 to work with restaurants and pilot program on the food scraps. They put together the Planet New Canaan Youth Board, who's been working on it, and they went to a restaurant and just took home all the food scraps and actually evaluated it. Actually in my driveway that happened, but I wasn't there. So once we're trying to get the numbers from curbside compost, but today was the first pickup, and I believe another restaurant's coming on board. So we'll update that when we can get more data to show what's happening.
Excellent, great, thank you. Tiger, I don't know whether we can discuss solar updates. I think we've turned the full year unless you want to wait till another time. Actually, I think Tiger stepped off momentarily, so we'll come back to that. Swap shop, I think you've given us the update on that. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to be in there the next few weekends painting and putting up shelving.
Got it. Sounds great. It's great. Let me skip forward on Bristow. You know, we're on track. They've actually begun phase 3 work in the park. There is some follow-on work in the wildflower meadow. And then, Robin, would you like to discuss the wildflower Cam Hutchins pollinator garden concept?
Sure. So, Chris, I don't know if you were able, I sent you the presentation. I'm not at home, so I can't share it. I'm on my phone. I don't know if you have that.
I don't have it in front of me right now because I'm in the
Okay.
boardroom, but you can just outline it for us.
Okay, so the area of Bristow, there's talk of making that into, since we have the Cam Hutchins pollinator pathway, creating the Cam Hutchins pollinator pathway meadow inside Bristow Bird Sanctuary. It's where the current kind of meadow is, where the Norway maples are going to be taken down to allow more light to come in. Currently, the only thing I saw in this meadow were wild bergamot or Monarda pistilusa. Never pronounce these things, but it would be to add more plugs, and it would also be to extend it. Also talk to Tiger, and there is, as Chris, as you pointed out, there's a boulder near the pond that we could move over to the meadow and put a plaque on it to honor Cam Hutchins. Currently, there's more than enough benches in the area. Didn't think a bench was necessary, but just looking to put in plugs such as, well, Chris, you talked about a firefly. So, I mean, we should definitely put in aster if you wanted to get fireflies in there, butterfly weed, blue cardinal flower, red cardinal, common milkweed, blue cohash, fall sneezeweed were some of the suggestions, and they're easily found plugs. And what we do is work with some groups for the planting. Also talked about needing to form a fund for it, because some of the things we would need would actually be a water pump so we can water it. Also buy an electric drill and auger. So the water pump is about 700, the drill and auger is about 125. The native plugs for the estimated area would be about 5,000. The plaque was estimated at 700. And because you'd want something where there's a maintenance fund to have removal of invasives and just for keep up, we were looking to raise $15,000 in total to go to the Friends of Bristow to be kept, well, the New Canaan Community Foundation to the Friends of Bristow to be kept for the Cam Hutchins pollinator meadow. Originally thought we could be planting this fall, and I know Connecticut received rain. I'm not there right now, but I still think it's too dry. Aquarium doesn't want us planting anything new right now. So I think it would need to wait to the spring. We could put in some seeds that need cold stratification like milkweed, but the plugs, just because they need a fair amount of water to establish, I think it should wait to the spring. But if the Conservation Commission was on board on it, we'd like to vote for approval so we could start fundraising.
Commissioners, any questions regarding a memorial garden for Cam
Well,
Hutchins?
I was wondering, we're gonna have weeds there, right?
There will be, well, there is a weeding issue, yes.
There's a weed. And have you thought about what to do about that?
Well, I think that would be part of the planting and planning is addressing what is in the weed bank. I have to say, we're a little bit lucky because that field was newly done with, and seeded. But I do think that, having enough maintenance or having some maintenance funds to allow someone to go in there and weed it once a month, kind of knock back what'll be popping up, for the first couple of years would be a good step.
Yeah, I was thinking like, I can't help but recalling Kukanov. I was in there a couple of times and it's wonderful, of course, very big. But they have pathways through various places, And I was thinking, when I was setting up my garden, I put this cloth down.
Mhm.
And then on top of that, you can either put rocks or chips or whatever.
Mhm.
And then maybe have lanes going down. It might have a way of keeping too many weeds in and also being able to get closer to the flowers.
I think that's a doable idea. I think you're talking about like a landscape tarp that they put down to prevent weeds.
Yeah,
And I do think that if we establish the bigger meadow, we can cut a pathway in there. That could be easily maintained. I think the thinking for the Cam Hutchins one, though, that the spatial part of it is really more in the front of the meadow, not the whole, or are you thinking whole meadow?
No, so, well, what the plan was to help the meadow that's currently there to add to it, but then that front part, we could have a walking area around it where we add more, and we could probably even do bigger perennials there. Because it's almost like two sections. I know, Chris, when you start walking, add something there and then enhance the current meadow, what's there. And what we could do is we could put down now for planting in the spring some cardboard with compost over it to kill any weeds that are currently there. I'm not a big fan personally of the landscaping tarps, just because of air exchange and because you want certain beneficial insects. I mean, it'll probably be jumping worm now, unfortunately, but which is not beneficial. But I just find soil, when you put that down, when you lift it up, it tends to be not great soil.
But I think Marty's intent, though, is to think about making sure that there's a way for visitors to walk along it. Now, it'll be along the main, part of it is right in front of the Greenland path, right? So you'll be walking past it. And then maybe
yes,
create a moon section behind it and a trail going deeper into the garden.
Also,
So
if you want in there and do some weeding, there's got to be a way to get in there.
Right, you need to be able to get in there. That's careful.
yeah, I mean, we can go over and look at it again from when we had our walk. It looked kind of like it would be one little garden in front, and then the already established meadow we would add into it so people could walk in between. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy to walk through it again and go over anything. We would, anything, if we would walkway, we just need to make sure we keep it mowed. So, in case ticks or anything, anyone's worried about that for the walkways.
Susan, do you have some concerns or points you'd like to raise?
I think I sent you this information before. I think it would just be interesting to talk to Grace Farms, I'm sorry, because their meadow is now mature. And they had a lot of changes from what they originally planted and the things that survived and the things that did not survive. And their maintenance plan they're now like 4 or 5 years into their meadow. And I just think it might be informative to us to know what is a good maintenance plan.
Mm-hmm. Susan, that's a very good point. And I think I shared back with Robin, I think her name was Allison I can't recall her last name, but I shared back to her that the maintenance length, they should be thinking about 5 years of maintenance opportunity. Because that's about what it takes to establish.
And they had, I know this because they did a presentation last year with the landscape architect, and he mentioned that there were a number of plants that did not survive. Not particular plants, but species of plants that did not survive. And I just think it's interesting information. So as you plant a meadow, it's a wild garden meadow. So you have no predictability of what's going to make it. And I would just be interested in what they planted, what did not survive, why it did not survive. Well, they don't really have complete information on that, but I think a general estimate of what you should predictability have as a cost of maintenance over like 2 or 3 years, which is really the plan for sustainability of a meadow. I don't think 1 year is going to do it, but I think 2-3 years is a good plan.
Yeah, and we can certainly, I've actually done a tour of the meadows with, presented with Mark Fowler there. And I know that I think Waveney Conservancy worked with the landscape architects for the cornfield. So we can definitely reach out to Grace Farms and you know, get their feedback of, you know, as you said, what didn't work and try to avoid those.
Well, and also I think more sustainability issues in their first year. What were their big maintenance issues? The second year, lesser. The third year, okay. So they could give us a timeline over the maintenance program for a meadow.
Yeah, no, I think that's an excellent idea, and we definitely reach out to them.
Okay, so I think what we need to give you is a motion that we can support. And I think I'd word it this way.
I want to say one thing.
Sure.
So unless we do something about the deer, it's a smorgasbord for the deer.
Well, whoa, not necessarily, Marty. That was part of the presentation that I heard. Olin Landscaping out of Chicago did the Grace Farms Meadows, but a lot of what they planted is not a smorgasbord for deer, which is part of the reasoning, I guess, why reaching out to them might be useful, because what did the deer eat? What did they not eat? And how do you manage all of that sort of maintenance issue? What needed to be replacement? What was replaced? What was not replaced? What they just gave up on? And where they felt sustainability of some plants was huge, some not so huge, and some totally did not survive.
Marty, you raise a good point. So in the planting plan, looking towards more deer-resistant varieties, if possible, if they exist. But also, I think Tiger has recently, and the Friends of Bristol have recently put in another round of fencing. That's being done now. That may be sealing off, but I think, to be fair, even if we have an 8-foot fence, there is likely to be on occasion a deer in there, even if we have dogs walking. There's still, so keep that. I mean, Robin, that should be kept in the back of our minds, that the planting will either for maintenance purposes be raided on occasion by deer, or should skew towards things that are more deer safe or resistant, if possible.
Yeah, you can. I mean, you can always put in deer resistant if they're starving, they'll eat anything. But yeah, so we maintain a pollinator garden at the nature center, and it's held up pretty well against the deer. I mean, nothing's going to be guaranteed 100%. If you get a hungry deer, you know, hopefully someone has hostas nearby, so they'll go there. But nothing, I can't say anything will be 100% guaranteed.
I got it, but I think the points that for us are some certainty on maintenance, deer resistance, and then a little bit of understanding the kind of cycle that we'll go through, that this isn't you put it in and it works the first year. It's a several year process. And I think that's important for the people who want to support the idea that it's supported and well supported in order to be able to maintain it.
Right, and that's why we're looking to have a fund, so this can be for 5 years or so, at least maintained. Hopefully continued in the future, but to go that route. But unfortunately, because of the environment right now of we've had drought for so long, it's not good to start now. It would be for the spring.
So I'm gonna make a motion, and then we can follow that with any follow-on discussions, and then we can vote on it so that Robin is able to go back to the group that, I think it's the class of 77 and some Amherst grads who want to support it. And I think the motion would be that the Conservation Commission supports establishment of the Cam Hutchins Pollinator Garden in Bristow at the site that has been discussed, and requests that the garden be planned to be successful over a number of years, to take into account the possibility of deer, and to make sure that the maintenance of that maintenance is included in the funding, and that that the garden is prepared to learn from both Grace and Waveney and the Land Trust, all of whom are establishing pollinator wildflower gardens. That's the motion on the floor. Are there any questions or concerns? Second the motion. Any further discussion, Susan?
No, I'm good.
All in favor? Chris Shipper, Marty McLaughlin?
Yeah.
Susan?
I'm good.
Vote passed. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. And I think that covers what we need from you, unless there's anything else you want to put forward.
Nope, I'm going back out to the beach now. So
Take care. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna, Tiger, if you can come on for a second, we'll finish up with a few quick questions. First off, congrats to Lanny and associates for completing the boardwalk work. I think, Tiger, you said that the pavilion is scheduled for install in February.
That's correct. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yep, I heard you. It's important because
Yeah,
the shape.
that's
You know, I was walking twice through Bristol. I do all the paths, okay? And so I'm up by the railroad along there, and I noticed there's some a place where it looks like there's some slating place.
Yes, the viewing area.
Yeah. We're not gonna put the pavilion up there, are we?
No.
Okay.
No, the pavilion is
Not
gonna,
many people go up.
no, we need to get a bench up there. But
That'd be good.
the pavilion is gonna be right at the river crossing area, off to the side of it,
For the people.
where the people come by. All right. And then, Tiger, I believe that Lanny has begun phase 3.
That's correct. He's got about 2 weeks left of work, he said, to complete phase 3. And then at that time, he'll put in the base for the pavilion, because he'll be walking his way out right to where the pavilion would sit, and we'll put the O in for the pavilion in anticipation of the pavilion coming sometime in February.
I think that's great. And you must have found a window in your busy schedule to do that. So thank you for supporting Peter and the work there. On the next point, we did receive funding to put up a bird blind. It's going to be very rustic, Tiger. Do I need to get any approvals to put up a more or less open air, small? It's a little bit like a garden shed without doors.
Let me ask, do you have like a sketch?
I do have a sketch.
Send me the sketch and the dimensions, and I will ask the question, and hopefully, since it's kind of rustic and in keeping with, you know, you probably wouldn't notice it if you walked past it, so to speak. Maybe I won't get anything approved.
That would be great. It will be further in the woods off of the new trails that Lanny is making. And it will be rustic because it's going to be using kind of locust offcuts and locust planks and beams and everything. In fact, it may be possible to anchor it just on locust legs. So once we're clear with you on potential approval, we'll then go work with a carpenter who can potentially install it for us. And that will be another big completion. And I would be remiss if I weren't to say that today is September 8th, 2022. We are exactly 2 years away from 2 years to the September 8th, 2024 centennial celebration. So
Hope we all make it.
I hope it. I hope so too. I hope we're all out and around. I should say that a small group of people are being invited to join the Bristow Centennial Committee, which will sort of oversee the program for the day. And I have reached out to a few citizens in New Canaan, but I will report more extensively on that at the next Conservation Commission meeting when we have the committee completely defined. With that, I think that we will. I would move to close the meeting, but I'm willing to hear if Susan or Marty, you have some other points of discussion you'd like to raise.
Well, the only thing I worry about is that we're not going to be able to keep the deer out. Now, here's my thought. You know, the fence goes, let's say 6 feet, and then you're going to add something.
We'll put 2 feet on with wire.
Could you have a space between the fence and the addition so that we actually get more height?
Oh, you mean go 3 feet
Well,
or 4 feet?
what I'm saying is, you already have a 6-foot fence, right?
Right.
And then you're gonna add a strip on top of it.
Mhm.
Okay, could you leave a space between the fence and the strip you're putting in, which would give us more height?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, what I think they're normally gonna do is, and Tiger, you can jump in, but they have a 6-foot post, they put an extension post on it, and then they run wires through it. So the 6-foot post now becomes 8 feet high with wire. I don't think we can put barbed wire up or any kind of wire like that, but
Just put,
it just does, it will add, you know, it'll basically take 6 feet and make it 8 feet.
well, on the top, on the upper
Upper
wires,
piece.
you put little colored things on there.
Yeah, or put a little bit of like flashes on it or something.
Yes.
All right, we'll see that. That's particularly important, I think, not so much by the railroad tracks, but by the southern border of the park. And the other area that they'll climb in is they can walk in underneath the bridge on in the waterway. So I think we'll be on there, but we also have 2 game cameras coming in. And when the game cameras will give us an indication of how much deer life are we seeing? Is it one deer? Is it different deer? And what have you? But I agree that ultimately, if Bristow becomes a bird sanctuary and a native plant preserve, we're going to need
Some protection.
more protection than what we have now. But I do want to thank Tiger for pushing forward and completing that fencing link, and then, you know, fence maintenance is going to be a steady project. Susan, any points you'd like to raise?
No, I'm good.
Susan, why don't you show up once in a while? We get a chance to look at you.
No, it is convenient. It is convenient to have Zoom. I'm hoping that come October, we'll be able to get everyone together in a room and work through some other issues. But in the meantime, thank you all for attending. It is now 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to a close.
Very good.
Very good?
Yep.
Thank you. Tiger,
That's good.
thank you. Susan, thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, take care.
Thank you. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
When in a hurry,
Yes,
or we missed a lot. Plans.
we did, and we kind of moved it on. So I have to now turn us off. Here. Oh, I have to hit end.